Stress and burnout, are they different? Are they the same? Can they be used interchangeably? Well, I explain all the details in this episode coming up. Welcome to Burnout Solutions, a podcast designed to help high achievers and healthcare professionals understand stress and how it can lead to burnout. Together, we'll explore how your brain and nervous system naturally work and why they sometimes hold you back, and how to overcome those challenges to fully enjoy the success you've worked so hard to create. I am your host, Mona Tippett, registered nurse, burnout coach, and resiliency educator. Hello, and welcome back to Burnout Solutions. I am excited to be here. It is close to the end of the summer, and I've had great practice all summer with stress and avoiding burnout, and it's been really good. So today I'm actually wanting to talk to you about the difference between stress and burnout. I've done an episode on burnout. I've done an episode on stress. And if you missed that, you can go and listen to those. I talk about them in detail. But today I wanted to talk about just the difference between stress and burnout, because sometimes they are used interchangeably and they are actually different. And I wanted to just say that understanding the difference could actually be the key to refueling yourself and getting more energy, creativity, and your sense of purpose back. And closer to the end of the episode, there's actually going to be a little self-evaluation that you can take to see if you are struggling with stress that's leading to burnout or not. But first, let's just briefly go over what stress is and what burnout is. So if we think of stress like sprinting, stress is designed to help you run fast for just a short period of time. It sharpens your focus, it boosts your energy, it helps you meet a challenge. And this is when stress is helpful. It tells your body, hey, I need some more attention here. I need all hands on deck, and we need just a little bit more help. And stress can be good in this situation. It helps us learn. And this good stress is called eustress. However, when we have too much stress or too much energy, the stress can turn from eustress to distress. And when it's distress, that's what we all talk about as being stressed. And when we are distressed, we are usually distressed in one or more of these areas. The first is our cognition. So our brain function goes down. The second is our mental health. So our emotional well-being is affected by our stress. The third is our physical health, because stress does affect the function of our body in almost every single system. And then our spiritual health, and not just our religion or our spirit, but just the sense of ourself in relation to the world. So stress is a big effector of all of these areas. And that is why it is so impactful. And not only does stress affect us in all these different areas, but stress is also defined as the duration of stress. And this is just a quick review from last week, but there's acute stress, there's acute episodic stress, and there is chronic stress. Acute stress is something that comes in short bursts, like running late to a meeting, prepping for a presentation, riding a roller coaster. Episodic stress is repeated episodes. So maybe you're always in a rush, or you're frequently overcommitted, or you're coming in contact with stressful situations over and over and over again throughout the day. And then there's chronic stress, which is the constant pressure without relief. And this is what a lot of us live in when we are burning the candle at both ends, especially healthcare workers, teachers, and parents. So when you are in stress mode, your nervous system is in sympathetic activation, and that is your fight or flight response. You're overengaged, you're tightly wound, you're full of adrenaline, your mind can race, and your heart pounds, and your focus actually narrows. But stress, and even chronic stress, can be resolved with the right tools. However, when we don't complete our stress cycle over and over again, when we are constantly in a state of stress and being exposed to stress through our workplace, through just living our lives, then that can lead to burnout. And burnout is technically classified as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And there can be 3 symptoms that can help you recognize it. So your feelings of energy is depleted, or you are always exhausted, an increased mental distance from one's job, or feeling negative or cynical related to one's job, and reduced professional efficacy. So you don't feel like you're making a difference. And burnout refers specifically to a phenomenon in the occupational context. And the World Health Organization says that it should not be applied to describe experiences in other areas of life. However, I have seen and I have worked with people who do feel burned out in areas other than their job. So let's do a quick comparison. So stress feels like sprinting, and burnout is trying to run on an empty tank. You're out of gas, but life is still demanding you to go faster. You can stop caring because you are depleted. And, it can be like you're underwater and everyone's asking you to just swim harder. So when we are feeling stressed, we are often overengaged. Our emotions are overreactive. We often feel a sense of urgency and anxiety. We still really care about what we're doing, and often we care too much. And we have a lot of physical tension from this stress. As that stress continues, it can lead to burnout. And when we are burned out, we become disengaged. Our emotions are often blunted. We can develop apathy and hopelessness. We can feel numb or disconnected. And really, we have emotional deadness. Burnout is often the aftermath of prolonged stress, especially if you are someone who feels responsible for everyone and everything around you. It is for those high achievers. It is for those people who are really good at going the extra mile, and that is their normal. It is for people who don't sleep in, who are always going and going and going. And I see this all the time in myself and in my clients. They are highly capable, they're competent, they're committed, and they've handled stress for years and years. But eventually, the body says that enough is enough. So let's talk about the nervous system for a minute. Under stress, your sympathetic nervous system revs up like a gas pedal and you feel alert, focused, and reactive. And then burnout happens when the gas pedal has been down for so long that your system crashes into dorsal vagal shutdown. And this is the part of your nervous system that says, I give up, I don't care, and I don't care that I don't care. It's where things just feel really, really overwhelming. This is when your internal battery has drained so low that it goes into energy saving mode. And you might feel foggy or disconnected. You might feel unmotivated no matter how much you should. You can be emotionally numb and physically heavy or tired. And I have seen people who really are burned out just keep pushing because that is their normal. However, their emotions and what they care about and how they show up is different. They are just, going through the motions of work. And what I believe is the worst part is that high achievers often blame themselves when this happens because there's a lot of perfectionism that comes into play here. And they blame themselves. They think, I must be lazy or I've lost my edge. But your nervous system is really overprotecting you. Your nervous system is not broken. And that is why it is shutting down, because it's out of fuel and gas. So let's move on. I want to give a self-evaluation that you can just write down. You can take a mental tally. And these are just yes or no questions to see where you are with your stress and burnout. So the first question is, my life is so stressful that I often feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or have a lot of anxiety. Yes or no? The second is, I often behave in ways that I regret later. The third is, I frequently say and do things that hurt people that I care about. Number 4, there are situations and people that push my buttons and make me crazy. So I often avoid them. I keep to myself as much as possible, or I try and avoid the situation. 5, I feel empty and unsatisfied with my life. 6, I've tried to change so many times, but I've found it impossible on my own. 7, I feel controlled by other people and other situations. 8 is I would like to have more meaning in my life. 9, I want to do a better job of being true to my core values and my principles and living with integrity. 10, I think I may be suffering from primary, secondary, and or environmental trauma and stress. And for details on that, listen to my last episode on the meanings of all of those. 11 is I have a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, and or I wake up feeling exhausted still. And 12, my stress is contributing to my eating patterns. I either find myself emotionally eating a lot or my appetite is completely gone. Okay, so now add up your score. If you answered yes on 4 or more of those questions, then congratulations. You are a perfect candidate for my one-on-one burnout program or even my group program of the Mindful Method with nervous system resilience, where I combined my burnout material and my life coach school material to help people through stress and burnout. I'll talk about that a little bit more coming up. But I also want you to know that you are in good company because I've been doing a lot of reading on this and how I thought, how prevalent is burnout? Well, surveys show that more than 60% of work absenteeism is contributed to psychological stress and stress-related burnout. And experts estimate that burnout translates into a loss of anywhere from $150 to $350 billion annually for U.S. businesses. And I think that is a huge statistic for any manager, any hospital administrator, any tight labor market, because your employees can't put their best foot forward and are out from work out of desperation, and they try and cut corners, they call in sick, or they quit, all in an effort to survive burnout and alleviate stress. It's also interesting to me that with stress and burnout, it's kind of the chicken and the egg scenario to say, does burnout cause stress or does stress cause burnout? But they are actually mutually reinforcing of each other. And when we are exhausted, our ability to cope with stress often decreases. And as a result, even small tasks can be perceived as significantly more strenuous and difficult to achieve. And that's why emails seem overwhelming. That's why charting can be really hard. That's why just grading papers for teachers, just small things that were easy before seem almost insurmountable, or we keep procrastinating and putting them off because we perceive it as this big threat. Because again, the nervous system is trying to protect you. And when we feel and see that we are burned out, our brain gathers more evidence to prove that. So let's get on to the great news. Your brain and nervous system can be rewired. And I love helping people do this. So I created the next 4 episodes with another life coach. And we are talking about 4 specific tools. So each episode will have a tool that we will walk you through to help you with overcoming stress and burnout. I also am certified as a consultant through the Forward Facing Institute, where I can come and explain how to be the boss of your nervous system and your brain to staff at staff meetings or medical conferences and workshops. And you can reach out to me on my website for more information on that. So just a wrap up. Stress is your body's natural signal that something needs attention. Burnout is your body's way of saying, I can't carry this anymore. This is too much. We've gone too far. Both are valid and both are reversible. And both really are a call to reconnect with your body, with your needs, with your emotions, and your purpose. And you actually don't have to figure this out alone. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I help clients one-on-one. That's why I help groups. And if this episode helped you recognize at all where you're at, whether you have a lot of acute stress or chronic stress that has led to burnout, if you could please just share it with a friend or find me on Facebook or just go to my website. There's some resources there. And let's just get in touch with each other. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the next 4 episodes where, again, we give you tools to help you with stress and burnout. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Burnout Solutions. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I would appreciate it if you could rate and review so other people can find this podcast easier. And when you're ready to stop working harder and start working differently, head on over to my website at www.monatippets.com. That's TIPPETS. And grab my free resources on rewiring your brain and nervous system for less stress and more ease. Hope to connect with you soon. Take care.